Hi, this is Gabriela Ostos with Selig Film News. We're here with the fun team behind Divine Access, Kevin, Steven, and Gabriela. Steve, what made you want to tackle this story? What made you want to do this? I mean, you've kind of jumped all over the place. You've been with Linklater and that crew. I mean, what made you want to do this story?
Well, it's sort of about myself and my mother to a certain extent. I was thinking about this. We first wrote it. I had the idea about 15 years ago. And wrote it with my writing partners, Michael Zaxt and John O'Connell. We got it down on paper and then put it out, won the Santa Barbara Screenwriters Competition, which was very cool. And then at that point, it just, we tried a few times to do it ultra low budget. And that was back in my acting days, so I wanted to be in it and all that I later realized was a bad idea. And then a couple years ago, working with Kevin, I pulled it back out and took a look at it and then got it sort of up to date in terms of the script, put it out to some great actors and made it, and it's fantastic.
Can you talk about that cast? You did pull up a great cast.
We did. Well, it started with Billy Burke. Billy is a great old friend of mine, and he was aware of the project for about 5 or 6 years, and we all agreed that he would be the perfect fit.
Well, any role, any time, right?
Yeah, literally. Yeah, so I showed him the script a lot of years ago, and he looked at it and he goes, "Wow, any role, any time, any price." And I thought, well, that's great. And then so free, and whenever I can, whenever I can, yeah, small roles supporting me.
Coming up.
But it really got energy when I just focused in on him to play Jack, which is basically me to a certain extent. And so he got to use some Steve-isms, as he calls them, and built the character far beyond what was on the page. Really did a great job. And then once he was on board, the other actors just responded to the material.
You had a great casting director, Michelle Lewitt, who came on board, and she had a lot of great ideas, and was really, I think, on the same page with Steve on what we were looking for those roles. And then also brought some interesting actors that we weren't really thinking about, like Joel, who ends up playing Nigel the catcher, who's amazing in the film and has great rapport with Billy. And they've actually worked together before, and so it was really nice because they spent a lot of time on the road in the movie together, and so we were thrilled to have him.
Yeah, Joel, when he came on board, or he contemplated coming on board, I got on the phone with him, as I did with Sarah Shahi, who was also amazing in the film. And they really dug into it, had an idea of what they thought the story was, but wanted to hear what I thought, and we talked about it. Joel and I were on the phone for an hour as he was deciding whether he wanted to do it and whether I thought he was right. And we just went through what his character was, what it represented, where it was going, his own arc, and as it plays into his character and into the story. And when it was done, it was like, all right, it's you, man. You're the guy.
He's wonderful. Yeah.
He's wonderful. He's a great actor and incredibly thoughtful. He's also a director, so he had some interesting ideas, which I welcomed. And then Sarah was even sort of more curious, and our conversation was a little bit longer than the one with Joel, and she had some very specific ideas on how to make the character not just what it was on the page, but also bring some life to it. And I listened, and it made sense, and so again, open to the collaboration. Why would I be foolish enough not to be? And so that's how they came on board, is just sort of putting me through the ringer on the phone.
I'm curious, with it, Billy being that big connection, him jumping up as a producer too, and stepping into that realm, that's new ground for him. I think he's produced one thing before, but to make that statement with your film as friends, that's a big statement. Kevin, that question, what's it like working with Billy on that side of it rather than just as a regular actor?
Billy was great. I mean, he especially in the editorial process. I mean, obviously he was involved very heavily from the beginning with Steve, in terms of the character and building that character and what that, the kind of the subtleties that he was going to bring to that character. When we did our original table read very early on, he had some great ideas. It was just really interesting to see him finally kind of flesh that character out in front of us, which was great. But as a producer, he was really instrumental, I think, in helping in the edit room when we were building the whole last kind of rewrite, as you will. He had some great ideas for his character, and he was always behind the film 100%, and he's completely committed to it. So unfortunately he's not here with us today, but he'll be with us in spirit.
Working in New Orleans on his new series.
But no, it was great to work with him. And let's not forget, we didn't talk about Patrick.
Well, I mean,
Cole,
right now Billy's, because he made no money with us, he had to take another TV show. But I mean, the last two people that we brought on, because we wanted to get it right, were Patrick Warburton and Gary Cole, and I'm like, come on, you know, when it was just such, they're perfect, absolutely perfect, you know, top of our list, and then there they are, and they say yes, and Gary was working in Romania and just came straight to Austin before he went home.
Well, first he stopped off and hung out with President Obama.
Oh, that's right.
At the correspondence dinner.
That's right.
And then rolled in at like 4 a.m. And literally just, you know, I think he may have read the script like a couple weeks before, and he's like, I love it, and he knew every line. He was such a pro. It was great to have him on.
Yeah, and brought, you know, he lived in the dialogue, but he brought, everything was nuanced, everything was new. You know, there's different types of actors. Some actors, and you know, as long as it stayed within the confines of what we were trying to tell, and then allowed to, or encourage them to expand it to something that is greater than what was on the page. And the nuance that all of the actors brought was just, you know, you just sat there and just every now and then we get back on track a little bit. For the most part, they just created this amazing, they just knew the characters better than I, which is their job. And really delivered. Very funny. Patrick Warburton, as we were saying, he's funny with his back turned. and he just delivers. And it's a deep. It's not just this hysterical performance. His relationship with Jack is sincere, and it's just, he did a wonderful job. And he's a good dude, which helps on everyone. No one was anything other than incredibly fun to be around, which helps when we're working those hours. And
it was a slightly different character in the original script. You know, the character that Patrick plays wasn't when you look at Patrick, he's such an interesting personality, and he's kind of larger than life, and we had never really kind of seen that before. And when we heard his name on our list, we're like, oh, that means it's like no brainer.
Yeah, it's perfect.
He's perfect, even though it wasn't necessarily written that way. But what he brought to it, and his mannerisms, and how he kind of creates comedy is what I think brings nice moments of levity in the film when you need it. Great.
And we were changing. You know, once I got Joel, I changed. I went back to writing. Sarah had some specific ideas that I really loved, so I went back to writing. So I was writing in the evenings to just take advantage of their talents that were abundantly clear from my conversations. And then once they were doing the work, I was like, oh, wow, what an opportunity. And they were good enough actors where I would give them some changes. They would just take them and run with them.
What type of atmosphere do you have on set as an actor? And Gabriela, maybe you can give a little bit about this. How fun is it? I'm guessing it must be like a blast to be with you guys, just filming a kick-ass film.
I certainly hope so.
Yeah, it was. It was a good time. It was, you know, there's always a time crunch, and so even in high-pressure situations, Steve really was good about, you know, having everybody kind of be very productive and get everything done on time and without like pulling your hair out kind of thing. So yeah, it was a good atmosphere.
Well, it's easy to stay calm, you know, when the actors are prepared, and when you have Kevin and Carissa.
Yeah, but not when the rain is coming.
Well, there's no, you know,
the sun is, you know, setting and the.
But we were well planned ahead of time with Kevin and Carissa and Amy and you know and the G-Men guys. We were well planned out. But then there's always stuff that comes up, and what are you going to do? Are you going to scream and yell about it, or are you going to say, okay, it's raining, let's shoot something else, let's go, let's keep going? Because if we're upset or if we're on tilt, everybody is, and you know.
And I think you know, your experience as an actor and as a producer, and, you know, and as a writer, obviously you've been on set, you've been in creative meetings, you know what you want, and you know what it's like to be on a set, and I think that was really important in keeping the actors very comfortable. And also just, you know, helping lead the charge. And without Steve's, you know, great persona on set, I don't think any of the shit that we did, any of the stuff that we did would have happened, because you needed that leadership. Without that, I think we could have sunk pretty quickly. But you know, there was a thing that we were going to put on you know, like the rap T-shirts that says you know, waiting for boats and waves, because we were on this houseboat where the character that Billy plays, Jack, lives on for most of the movie. And we were there for the first 2 weeks. That's kind of where that really worked out really nicely, because it allowed us to get into the groove of filming by being in one location, so we weren't moving all over the place. And all the actors got to work in that one location, but we kept running into, it was on Lake Travis, so we kept running on
Lake Austin.
Lake Austin. Yeah. We kept running into boats that would go by and cause wakes.
Well, man, you know, there was a fishing tournament. It's the next day, yeah. And all of a sudden we're going, well, it's the next day, and all of a sudden they start sending boats, and I go, what are they doing? They're practicing the start.
Practicing.
I go, you're practicing a fishing contest? Can't you just,
Isn't that
go
called
fish?
Fishing, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess it's like a shotgun start, and so it's like boom, and then they would drive about as far as us to turn around, and so they had to practice getting to the best spots to go fish. And I get it, but it was a little bit.
Yeah.
You're gonna practice.
It's a talent. You got,
Yeah,
you gotta get that talent.
yeah. But it was cool. The local Lake Patrol, the local sheriff helped us out quite a bit, and we tried to leave as small a footprint as we can. But there was a lot of water lapping up and stuff that was affecting sound.
But
so.
that could have easily, for somebody who's inexperienced, that could have, been a major detriment, and that could have shut down production. And we had a great crew. And,
wow.
And we were able to kind of weather those issues and get great performances, and it didn't hinder us in one way, or in any way, shape, or form. So it was a great experience.
Well, that's why we shot it in Austin. I love Dallas as well. I spent a lot of time up here in my earlier career, but I knew the Austin crews. I knew the local actors in Austin were solid, just like they are up here in Dallas. Absolutely. The Texas actors, it all started here when it was Third Coast, and then it sort of exploded out to the incentive states. Yeah. But the technicians, I got to work with guys that I worked with way, way back in the day that came up and stepped up and worked for me at a fraction of their rate, just sort of like because we all came up at the same time. I went to LA and they've been making far more money working as crew everywhere else. So that was great, but what it allowed for was a calmness on set, and if you can't shoot, you can't shoot. Yeah. You have, and Julie Kirkwood, our DP, and her whole camera department was amazing, and so we would just go pluck a little B-roll. We've got waiting for the wave, so grab the camera, shoot some beautiful stuff that I can cut to. So you just do it.
Well, speaking of Texas and a little Texas pride, you talk to us about the impact of the success that Boyhood's gotten and how that shines a light on the state. I know everybody looks at Richard and thinks, he's opened so many doors for Texas people and Austin and Dallas as well. So can you talk about that experience of being part of that film? And it's gone global.
Yeah, man. Well, we just had 2 nights ago. We were talking to David Gordon Green in Sarasota, and Robert Rodriguez, obviously, and then Rick, and there's some other great filmmakers down there. But my connection is more with Rick, because the first thing I did with him was Boyhood. That was the first week of the shoot. So that was that was 15 years ago by now. Back then it was called the 12-Year Project. And then he later on put me in Scanner Darkly, which was great. He's a great guy and obviously a fine filmmaker. But I was at Cannes 2 years ago, and I walk up to him and I go, "Hey man, how you doing?" He goes, "Hey, you're in Sundance next year." And I go, "I don't think I am, man. I don't really do much acting anymore." He goes, "No, Boyhood." He goes, 12-Year Project is going to be in Sundance next year. And I'm like, well, the perfect irony of my career is that I get an Academy Award nomination about 10 years after I really started looking for acting jobs. But it's a great film, and the concept was spectacular, and it, but he's been making great movies for forever. Yeah. But now to have one that rightfully reached those heights is really encouraging, and it should be encouraging for people that have been driven out of Texas chasing the incentives, which is good business. But he just shot it at home, and the El Rey channel down there with Rodriguez is helping quite a bit, and all the work that comes up to Dallas. So I think it's a pretty strong. I think people, in spite of the financial rewards of shooting in Texas, I think you just can't get away from the talent base, the crew base, the surrounding towns and how open they are to film. I think you can't get away with that. I think people are finding that they'd rather do without that extra 20% back and make the best possible film, and that's thanks to in large part to Rick.
Yeah, and we're excited. David, I think, is coming in as well later this week. So
incredibly nice guy.
Oh, great!
And, is there anybody better than? Is there a better filmmaker than that guy? I don't think so, man.
I think it's another level.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
well,
talk to me in a few films. Yeah. No, he's the real deal, and he was really nice and magnanimous, and it was a great conversation. He's just Texan. He's just a dude from Texas.
Well, what's it like having it here at the Dallas International Film Festival? And you guys excited? We're going to show it to some audiences, and I think they're really going to like it. I think people are going to be. The cast is great, but I think this film, it's perfect. I loved it.
Wow, man! I'm not going to sit here and take that from you. This is our Texas premiere. It's a Texas film. The writing was informed by my life in Texas, so I'm glad that it's here. Dallas is. I had a film at Deep Ellum 100 years ago as an actor, and loved it then. Michael Caine and the guys, and kept in touch with those guys straight through, and now here we are.
It's also a special place because our producing partners, G-Man Media,
Yeah.
Jeff Way and Clay Glendenning, are both local Dallas boys, and a lot of our investor team is from here. So this is kind of a homecoming for us.
Yeah.
We're really excited. We've got a little private event happening right before the screening tonight, and they're all coming in for it, and everybody's incredibly excited. I think our show's sold out tonight, and then close to selling out tomorrow night. So we're just thrilled to be here, and we can't wait to show it because it's we've screened it now. We were at the Sarasota Film Festival Friday, and it just went over really great. And so we just can't wait to show it to audiences and get it out there. So.
Yeah, it's the first time we'd shown it to anyone that didn't know us and love us or work on the film. So it was in Sarasota, and so I felt like it was going to be well received. I certainly hoped it would, and it was. And so coming back home, where people are going to recognize, some of the things that Jack has gone through, and it's in their backyard, I'm hoping that people are really going to really like it.
Well, Kevin, Steve, Gabriela, thank you guys so much. And yeah, I can't wait for the audience to see it. So thank you guys.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Yeah.